Hi guys, my name is Mrs. Rice, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite books, Pete the Cat, I Love My White Shoes. I used this book early in the year with my kindergartners, as Pete is a lovable and familiar character. The story allows you to jump right into your literacy curriculum in a fun and engaging way. If you are not already familiar with Pete the Cat, he is a cool character who isn't easily bothered by the small things in life. In this particular story, Pete starts his day in his white shoes, which we all know is a disaster waiting to happen. As Pete goes about his day, he accidentally steps in strawberries, blueberries, mud, and water, which turn his shoes a different color, but Pete doesn't let this get him down. One curriculum I take inspiration from is called the Read It Once Again program, created specifically for students with autism. Since all of my students have special needs, I believe they can all benefit from this program, which states the importance of reading the same book to young students for an extended period of time, and using that story as the central theme in your small group literacy lessons. I use Pete the Cat, I Love My White Shoes to teach my students about story sequencing, cause and effect, and coping skills, and at the end of the unit, we become authors ourselves, creating our own Pete the Cat book. Story sequencing is when I ask my students to retell the events of the story in the same order they happened in the book. In order to help keep my class focused, I verbally prompt them by asking what happened first, next, then, and last. This is a great story to introduce retelling because Pete steps in exactly 4 familiar things, as most kindergartners know what strawberries and blueberries are. Many of my students are not verbal or have very limited language, so I will give them picture cards to place in the correct order. This is an important lesson because retelling is part of the Common Core curriculum for kindergarten students. Cause and effect is another important yet extremely difficult concept to teach young students. Of all the WH questions, when, who, what, where, and why is the most difficult for children to master. Pete the Cat, I Love My White Shoes helps young students begin to understand how to answer and think about why questions. Why did Pete's shoes turn red? Because he stepped in blueberries? No, that doesn't make any sense. Because he stepped in strawberries. Students are forced to think about their answers and to make sure they make sense. It's also a good way to review colors. There is so much children and adults can learn from Pete the Cat about having a positive attitude and seeing the best side of every situation. I'll ask my students, how would you feel if you stepped in mud on the playground and it turned your white shoes brown? And most respond that they would feel sad or angry about this. But then I remind them how Pete reacted when the same thing happened to him. He moved along and kept singing his song, I Love My Brown Shoes. Instead of getting sad or upset, let's look for ways to problem solve and find a solution for making the shoes white again. Finally, at the end of the unit, we finish with a really exciting activity where each student gets to become a published author by writing 1 page in our class Pete the Cat book. Everyone must utilize the skills practiced all month to choose a color not in the original book and decide what Pete stepped in to turn his shoes that color. For example, let's say he stepped in a pile of lemons and they turned his shoes yellow. I then laminate and bind all the pages together and put the book in our class library. I hope you enjoy Pete the Cat as much as I do and found this presentation a useful tool to help engage young students and jumpstart your literacy curriculum. Thanks for listening and happy reading.